Hi there guys, and welcome to this slightly seasonal recording of GenVFX. This should arrive just before Christmas Day. That's the hope. I'm running out of time. I've only just finished a project at work and I've had to cram this in. But I'm really quite pleased with it because we're using, as you can probably tell by the splash screen, we're using Blender 3.0 properly. Yes, properly. Rather than actually heading into an alpha, which is not something I like to do. Or even a beta, which is something that always sounds like it should be something that's being hit. Anyway, I'm going to do now generate for you something in geometry nodes, and I know this is one of those things that I said I wasn't going to go straight into. I won't be able to help myself because, of course, it's the new thing, and the new toy always is the shiniest of all the toys on the 3D shelf. And what I thought I would do actually, though, is I know I've seen a lot of people doing a lot of stuff and generating, hexagonal lands. Arendelle, you're amazing. That's all I'm going to say. You are amazing, and you've helped me and many other people, and as a lot of you have, in getting into that slightly mathematical side of using geometry nodes rather than just doing let's do a point distribute. It's there's so much more that you can do in there. So without further ado, let's go and start making something which we can animate, something which is lovely and seasonal and everything. It's a snowflake. You've already seen a little clip at the front. So let's get into how we are going to do that. So first of all, we're going to do this. Just click off the splash screen. And as you can see, we have our standard defaulty stuffy. I mean, really and truly, it doesn't look very different from 2.9, whatever. But fundamentally, it is when you come to seeing how they've changed all of this. Because this is great. I mean, it's a much clearer system. This is just a much cleaner thing. Having the spreadsheet up there is absolutely fantastic. So we can see all the vertices and the edges that we have, and then the face corners, the positions of all the face corners where they exist in spatchy, in a UV mapping, and so on. All there in the spatchy space. And this here, of course, is our geometry nodes window where we can do all the fancy stuff. And that's what we were going to do right now. I know a lot of people prefer to do all sorts of bits and bobs, but I like it all nice and simple and clean. So I'm going to click on, we've got the cube. I'm going to rename it to Snowf because it's shorter than Snowflake. Snowf. And I'm making it sound like it's got 3 syllables. Snowf. And I'm going to hit on the, I haven't been drinking, just so you know. No, I really haven't. I'm going to click new, and we've got a new geometry nodes thing, and then I'm going to rename that to Snow node. And we've got here an input and an output. Now obviously this input is that cube there. So if I disconnect this from here, if I disconnect this from here, let's do it that way. There's nothing, because there's nothing going into the front. However, we want to put something there. We don't want our cube. The cube's just there as a placeholder. What we're going to do is we're going to actually just can reconnect this. We're going to put in a curve line. Now, essentially, in here, obviously there's lots of stuff in here, which at some point we will get to, whether it's one by one or whether it's menu by menu, not entirely certain yet. But if we go into, so this is all the stuff you can do with curves, but what we want is to actually have a curve there. So I'm going to go here into curve primitives and create a curve line. And we can't see anything. I've created a curve circle. I didn't want to do that. We want to add a curve line. There you go, like that. And I'm going to drop that into geometry, and straight away we can see a little line. And the reason for that is because we have got it in points. And you can have it in direction if you want to, so you can just change the way it rotates. It's quite nice. Go back to points, and we have the points in space. So if I move this in the Y, you'll see the bottom shift to wherever it is, so on. It's very simple. It's like this is the start of the curve. This is the end of the curve, and I'm going to set the end of this to 3.5, just roughly. I don't know, 3.5. Yeah, I set it at 3.5. I'll do for now. And you can see that that is going into our geometry output. Now I'm going to delete the geometry input because if we need one, we can always put one in. There's the geometry input. Where is it? Input. Oh, geometry is somewhere. Where is it? I've seen it. Input. If I just type in geometry, no, I can't find one. I'll leave that there. So yeah, not that it matters, but I will leave it there. I thought there was one in the input section. Nonetheless, I'm drifting. Let's stop that. Here is our curve. Now, that's all fine and dandy for one arm of a snowflake. Yeah, but doesn't really look like one because at the moment we haven't set it to actually be a piece of geometry that we can use. So what we're going to do, because a curve is just a curve is a curve, is a curve is a curve. You can't render a curve not without doing something to it. So what I'm going to do is going to convert that curve to a mesh. I'm going to do that with, I'm going to press Shift A and just go search up here. I'm going to go C-U-R-V-E curve. We should down here, if I just go further down here, curve to mesh. There you go. And we'll drop that on there, and now that curve is going to there. And what we need, you might notice, is a profile curve. Now this is where we can use our circle. So let's go to curve primitives, curve circle, and drag that and drop that into the profile. Boop, there you go. So you can see we've got essentially a cylinder because the radius of them, in fact, what I will do as well while I think about it, because I always prefer having it on, there you go, the vertices. Lines, wireframe, the wireframe. So what we can do is we can decrease or increase the resolution, obviously increase and decrease the radius. And if we set that, I don't know, set to 0.7, doesn't really matter what I set it to. And I'm going to leave that at about 6. 6 is fine. For what we're doing, 6 is fine. We now have a curve mesh. We have essentially the makings of a tube. I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller, put my finger on Shift and gently drag over that. But what we need to do really is we need to do some alterations to that. We want to change the width of the radius. Now, interestingly, you don't adjust it here, because even though you do adjust it here, you don't adjust it here. You have to adjust it on your curved line, the one that you're actually using to dictate what the radius would be. So what we need to do is we need to basically get a curve parameter, which we can use along the length of the curve. And as a parameter also means it's parametric, which means it goes from the first point to the end point. A parametric curve basically means values between 0 and 1 and so on. So if I add a parameter, so let's go into our curve, and if we look here, we have got curve parameter. So I'll pull this down like this, and I'll take this, and I need to find something to drag this into. Well, that's what I need to do is I want to use the parametric information, the 0 to 1 of our curve, and I want to use that to set the curve radius. So I need to set the curve radius. So I'll do the same thing here. Let's go here, curve, set curve radius, drop that on there, and so we can control the radius of the curve. You can see that does it now. But what we can do is we can say, right, well, let's set it from 0 to 1. And immediately it does exactly that. It takes whatever the value is at the start of the curve, which is 0, because a curve parameter goes from 0 to 1, as I said, and at the top it is 1. So what we've kind of done there is we've made a cone, which is not really much use to us because that's not what we want. We actually want that to be kind of the other way around. So we need to reverse that. Now, there's loads of mathematical ways to do it, but the simplest and the easiest way is very much in the same vein as if you were, just going to fill the caps on that, as if you were working in shading. You can change the range of something by remapping it. So we're going to remap the range from 0 to 1 to 1 to 0. Okay, and it does make sense, I promise. It's like reversing the value. Basically saying whatever 0, if that value is 1, I want that 0. If that one is 1, I want that to be 0. And if that is 0, sorry, I want that to be 1. You get the picture. I'll show you me. So let's add in a map range. So I'm going to go Shift A, because you can do it both ways, of course. Go to search, and I want to go map. And there's map range. And I'm going to drop that into here. And what we're going to do is, at the moment, let's just zoom in a bit so you can see this much better. We have the minimum set to 0 and the maximum set to 1. That's our current value, and that is mapping to minimum 0, maximum 1. So what we want to do is I want to say I want the minimum not to be 0, I want that to be 1. So you push that to 1. I want the max not to be 1, I want the max to be 0, and you literally have just reversed your curve by doing that. And there you go. So that's now giving us a kind of a spiky thing, but it's just a spiky thing going up, and it lacks some fun really. I think we're going to add some fun. Let's add some random fun. It's the best kind, also I've heard. So what I'm going to do is I want to change the values of this. I'm going to multiply these values as they go into there with some random values, very small random values. So I need to create something which will give me some a range of values between two. So that'll probably be some sort of random value range thing. Well, in fact, it pretty much is random value. So let's press that and go random. Oh, what am I doing? I've done it and not looked at the screen. That's what I've done. Let's get rid of it. Right. Shift A. Let's go to the top. Hit that and go random value. Drag that and drop that there. So that's automatically connected the output into the minimum. And we've set the value out to the radius. Now, what we currently have there is I've connected it wrong because of the way it drops in. I want that to not be connected to that. This needs to be connected to the radius, but this doesn't go in there. This is multiplied into this value. So we need a math node, and again, same sort of thing. Go to utilities, math, and then we'll take this and we'll just change that to a multiply. Set those to 1 and 1 first of all, and then drop that onto there. So there you go. So what happens now is if I change this, you can see it's changing that literally a little bit like that all over it. Yep, it's a random value that it's picking between 0 and 1. But I want this to be a smaller value. Now, first thing we need to do, by the way, you may have noticed we've only got 2 points on this curve, the starting point at the bottom and the one at the top. So we're going to need a few more points in here, aren't we? So we need to add more in. Well, the best way to do that is to basically put more points in the curve. We resample the curve. So I'm going to resample that curve now. So again, same thing, Shift A, search, resample curve, and let's drop it in there, just where it wants to go. So now you can see, because we have the wireframe on, you can see there are now 10 divisions. I'm going to change this up to something funky. I'm going to set it to funky 20. And I'm going to take this value, this random value, and shove that in there. And now what it's doing is at each point on our curve, each resampling point, it's generating new information. So that's kind of really quite cool. And you can see the number of faces and points going up dramatically. But you'll also see that the randomness is quite extreme. It's between 0 and 1. So I'm going to remove the 0 value that it's creating at the top here. You can see where we're getting the values of 0. Let's set that to like 0.35, and we'll set the max to 0.5. That's looking a little bit more ice pick like, which I don't know, I kind of like. I'm going to make this value, the min, I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Let's just make this smaller. There you go. That kind of looks like something stuck on the top of a minaret. That's got that sort of like spiky spire kind of thing. And that's kind of what I wanted. I really wanted this spiky spire kind of thing. Now, the only problem we have now, of course, is that this is quite big at the bottom, which I actually don't want that to be. I want that to feel a little bit more as though over the parameter of this whole line from 0 to 1. I'd like it a bit thinner there. Maybe a bit thicker here, possibly. But the thinness at the top is fine. So I want to add something else in here. Something else as a multiplier, I think. Actually, but after all of this, because everything else here is absolutely fine. That's fine. That's fine. That multiplication there is fine. I would very much like it to be so that after all of this, I just tuck that in. Now, thankfully for us, we have this curve parameter factor. So that curve parameter factor means that we can use, I don't know, so we can use something to change over length what the multiplier is in this. So say if the tip was 1, we want that to be 0. So what you need is some sort of, I don't know, some sort of vector curve would be quite useful. Oh, handy that. Oh, look, we've got a vector curve, haven't we? Yes, we have. Because if I go utilities, vector, I can go vector curves and drop this in here. Now this is quite summit. I like this. This is basically X, Y, and Z curves, which of course you can separate out. So I could then say, do some sort of like animation here along the parameter of the curve. Let me show you what I mean. First of all, we have here, our vector is set, this point down here is at -1 and -1 in the x and y. So that's the 0 point. So we want to change, I basically want to reset the curve first of all, and then I want to change the values it's working under, the clipping values. So I'm going to set -x to 0 and -y to 0, the minimum, sorry, x and y to 0, and the maximum up to 1. So now if I do a reset here, so I just go reset, that is now there at 0, 0, which is fine. And that's also at 0, 0, yep, okay, that's fine. And those, in fact, let's just reset that one and reset this one, so it'll give us only 2 points, and the y 2 points. We're only going to use one channel, but what we're going to do is we're going to take this curve factor, I'm going to stuff that into the vector, so that's the information going into the single vector we're going to use here, which is x. And I want this to go into this radius. I'm just going to disconnect that and just drag them to that, boom, right. So you can see now, if I bring this down, it's scaling down that top point, if you see. So but it's not, it's scaling it down by 1/3, because basically I've got the x, y, and z values all are going into that radius all together. So that is wrong. To actually get this to go down, I have to go into each one of these like this. Oh, we've gone all negative. Let's just reset that one. It's not resetting. Reset curve, sorry. And then we can bring that down to there. And then we take the Z and let's just reset that curve as well. Bring that down to here. So you see that's actually making it thinner properly and thicker in the middle. And thicker in the middle. And there we go. Let's pop that there and bring this down to here. So there you go. So that's kind of all three of those combined are working correctly now to give you that point. But you don't need all three, you just want one. So we need to basically separate out those channels. So we need to separate X, Y, Z, which essentially is something we've used before in the shader nodes. So in theory, it should be in utility vector, is it? Separate X, Y, Z. There you go. So let's disconnect this and let's reset this whole thing. Let's just reset curve. Let's go reset curve. And X, let's reset curve. We don't need them all, but that's just the point. So let's put that vector out into there. And we'll take just the X and stick that into the radius. Now, we're just working with X. So what we can do is we can bring this up. There you go, you see, you'll notice at the bottom there, it's actually 0. There, I can actually, whoa, Nelly, that's gone bonkers. I see it, because there's values below that curve has got values below it in the view. It's kind of been a bit, so we'll leave that down there like that, and then we'll push this up to here like this. You see, you've got that sort of like nice sort of curving going on. I mean, you could use it to make vases if you wanted to. Just imagine this is the profile of your vase. Yeah. So obviously, if something's a little bit longer like that, you want to be able to see it a bit longer. So you go, oh yeah, that's the profile of my vase. Let's stick that in there. Let's stick this. Let's stick another point in here and pull that bit in, and then maybe push it out a bit there. So you can, you can generate yourself a vase, for example. But we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So let's go back a bit. There we go. And this is now not connected to this, but it needs to be. It needs to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing as we did here with the multiplying. In fact, I'm just going to Shift D, drop that there, and I'm going to drop that onto there, like so. And I'm going to take this X value, I'm going to stick it into that value. So we're multiplying this by this. So if I bring this up, there you go, fills in the bottom like that, really quite nice. But we want it to be just tucked in like that. There we go. So at the bottom, it's kind of just a little bit of thickness, but it's always ending in a nice little point. It's not trying to be anything thick and adorable. So that basically is the major part of our chain. That's one whole arm. But there is one thing we still need to do. And obviously this thing needs to grow. We also need that group input as well. This thing needs to grow. So what we need to do is we need to make an alteration to this which grows the curve. So what we're going to do is we're going to add something called trim. Now trim basically does what it says it trims the curve, and it trims it by a value. So the value has a start point and an end point. So if I add curve, trim curve, there we go. And I stop that, I drop that there. So you can see if I zoom in, we've got the start point, there you go, being trimmed. So it's going up. The end point being trimmed like this. That's going down to nothing. So it goes. You can just see a tiny little point going up. There's nothing else there. If I put this to there, you go. Yay. So you can. But what we want to do is we want to do the end, not the start. So we can actually grow this over time. And that's all we need for this for the time being. This is one whole arm of our snowflake. So let's change that to the front view so we can see this a little bit better. And what I need to do is right now I've got this, which is our geometry output. That's our final bit of stuff. And this is our main stem curve. So what we're going to do is we're going to put another arm off here. In fact, if I just, where is my super suit? What we want to do is put another arm out here, and a little arm off that, which will mirror that way. We'll then take all of this and we'll mirror that onto this side. And then we'll do another little stem up here. Or we could take this and push it up. But we don't, we need duplicates, not instances. And then we'll do that. And then what we'll do is take the whole thing and we'll just basically copy it around. So that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do first of all is we need to make a duplicate of this. And excuse me, I'm just having a little sip of tea. Quintessentially British here. Christmas Eve drinking tea. Ha! So I'm going to take this. Dear, I'm an embarrassment to my species. Right, I'm going to take all of this. I'm going to Control C. I'm going to click somewhere else and Control V. And it puts it right back over the top. And I'm going to move this to here, like this. Okay, so we know this is our main stem. I'm not going to put it in a group. I'm just going to leave it where it is. I mean, I could go, ooh, let's just group all this. And that would be actually quite useful. In fact, I could just group it. In fact, let me do that. Maybe I will, because it'll be cleaner and tidier. Just because we know the same thing is basically going to happen on each of these, but we just need to do some translations and shifts and stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group this. I remember where I do it now. Oh, it's in node, isn't it? Group insert, make a group, Control G. There you go. So we're going to call this group like snow node underscore main arm. That's what we now call the geometry node. That's fine. Let's come back up here. And this thing has no name. So let's go to press that there. And let's name it to snowflake stem. And there it is, snowflake stem. And that is just going to stay there and be our main stem. But I do need something out of this. We'll come back to that later. So what we're going to do is we're now going to this arm here. We need to make sure this is visible with this one. So we're going to join this to the geometry. So I'm going to add a node. I'm going to go geometry. I'm going to go join geometry. You'll notice, by the way, I'm doing this in different ways. I am doing it actively where you can see me picking it from the menus, and I'm also doing Shift A, so you get the chance to see there are two ways to do this. And what I will do is let's drag this little fella over here. Drag over the little stem fella over here. Yes. I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to push this into here. I'm going to replace that connection so nothing's in there. I'm going to stick that in there. And I'm going to stick this curve to mesh here. This other one, I'm going to stick that into there as well. But I'm going to do some translation. I'm going to move it up to here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a transform. So it's a geometry transform. I'm going to pop it on here. And I'm going to rotate it in the y-axis by -60, because mostly it's all in 60s when you do these things. But I'm now going to scale it down. Oops, let's not do that. Let's scale it this way. Let's just zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. Come here. 0.5. There we go. Maybe that's a little bit small. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. Right. Let's move it up. He said, let's move it up. And would that be okay there, do you think? I think that's okay there. Let's leave that there. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is let's just shift all of this and this transform. And I'm going to make a duplicate of this again, but I'm actually a proper duplicate. Yeah. Shift D and drop it here. And I am going to join this one as well into here. So we've got the main stem going in, and then this is our first arm. And we'll do it. There'll be a little bit of finagly-noogly. And this one here, I'm going to put a transform node on this as well. So let's go with geometry transform, stick that there, plug that into there, and then plug that into there. And let's scale this one by 0.6. So lift it up and push it to the right. Oh, is that our first one? No, it can't be. Oh, it is the same size. Of course it is. Sorry, so I've done the same value. 0.3. So that's not quite half, and that's not quite half. So it's still quite large. And then we'll move that along there. Let's move that up there. So we have one arm sticking out. And what we're going to do now, because this is one of the funky bits with this. We've got this whole arm here, this little arm here, and we want these to grow, want the one on the opposite side to grow at the same time. So rather than duplicating it, what we do is we add another transform node, but we don't add it into the chain, we add it parallel to the chain. So essentially, it's not in series, which means it would act on the same one. It's parallel, so it will basically create itself as if it's another arm. So we go to transform, stick that here, stick this into here. So that's one transform. We'll take this and stick that into this transform here. And then that will go into here like this. And now, if I take these values we've got here, let's go minus 0.7 and 1.35. You can see what's happening. It's just in exactly the same place. There we go. And that is now on top of that. So if I then rotate that in here by minus 120, it's now pretty much mirroring the other one. This position looks a little bit off now. Now I'm doing that. So let's put my finger on shift to do this nice and gently. Let's move this up to there. And let's move this one up to there and in a little bit. There we go. So this essentially is our one fork arm. All of this. Every little part of this. One fork arm. Yep. So we now want to make duplicates of this, proper duplicates, not node duplicates, because I think it might be acting like an instance if we do it more than once. I'm not entirely sure, but we could try it. We can give it a go, but we haven't quite finished. So what we're going to do is we'll make some smaller ones on this. Dink and dink. I think that's what we need to do. I think so. I think that would be better. Don't you? Let's give it a try. So I'm going to take this single arm unit that's here with these two all joined together like this, and so this is all both those arms. And I want to take these both arms, duplicate them, and shove them here. So it's a rescale. So what I will do is I will take Shift D and drop them here just to be sure they're not getting in the way of anything else. So I know this isn't as complicated as it seems. It looks messy, but it's not. I think it's just because a lot of my things in here are further apart than they could potentially be. So this is going to be a smaller version on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these and we're going to join these together. So I'm going to add a geometry. No, not that one. Not that one. I'm going to add a join geometry, like this. And we're going to put this into here and this into here. And then we're going to drag that and we're going to drag this into here, like this. and this needs a transform now, because essentially what we've done there is put this directly back on top of itself, but we need to make it smaller and rotate it round. So I'm going to add in here a geometry transform. I'm going to stick it over here between these, and now if I rotate this in the Y, you can see, there you go. So I rotate this by -60 and then push this up to where I want it to be. Let's put it there, and now let's scale these down to 0.5. Oh, what happened there? 0.5. Oh, I see. It's shifting them. Of course it is, because it's not been built at an origin. So let's just pull these along to about there. That's nice. But then we need. I think that's no. I don't think that's nice at all. Actually, I think that needs to be maybe there. That's better. Yes, that's much better. And now I'm going to do that. I'm going to put that up there. So we need another one of these. Here we go. Just move this a bit further out the way. Ooh, it's starting to get a bit messy. Let's just go S on these and scale these down a bit. I love this. One of the best things in the world. Scale, pushes them all together. Bring that there. Bring this over here. Let's just do that. It's not exactly the cleanest lineup, is it? Can you? Do you know? Can you clean up? Can you clean up the things? Can you? You can't, can you? That's Fusion. No, but we can maybe pull these a little bit away from here. Maybe a little bit. I don't even think there's a right-hand button one, is there? Collapse and hide. No, it'd be just a nice little cleanup. Would be lovely. There probably isn't. I just probably don't know about it. So all of this here is those. Yeah, you can see it now. -60. So we want a duplicate of these, so they will, or an instance of these across there, so they'll animate with the other ones. So let's just do that. And the way we do that again, as you remember, is we just join them together with a different transform. So let's add another transform in, and we'll stick that there into there, and we'll stick that into there, and we will do our best to copy all of these. So let's just set this. In fact, what I can do, let's delete that. Let's click that, go Shift D, drop that there, and then we have exactly the same parameters. So all the scales and stuff are correct. And then we can rotate these by 60 and then move them, oh, too fast, little values, Gary, and then put that up there like that. Is that about right? Oh, that looks better. Right. And then what we can also do, so that's now everything and this. So that's our root limb, as it were. Now what we're going to do is that root limb we want all on its own. All of this we want to duplicate. That's right. Why? So we have another arm up the top. So I'm just going to move all of this over here, because that's kind of everything that makes up our little arms. Let's just scale this out a bit, actually. There we go. Pop those there. There's two versions of that. There's two versions of that. There we go. Still looks a little bit messy. However, we're going to take all of that, and we're going to Shift D and drag that out to here. Ooh, I did say it was going to look a bit messy. And we're going to join all of these together with a separate geometry array. So it's still going to be part of the final object, but it's not going to be connected to this one here, as it were. Not direct. It's going to be all part of this. So I will then create, let's go add geometry, join geometry. And let's take this one out and this one out. So that's our main stem, that's our smaller stem. This is our two main little arms, and this is our two junior arms. Whoops, there we go. Those are two junior arms. And then if I have this one here, and I'll have this one here. So this is all one arm. This is our duplicate. And I'm going to add another geometry join. There's a lot of this now is join geometry. So let's just stick that into there. So we lose all of that. So we'll have this arm that goes into there. Come on. In yes, this way you just zoomed too far out. This one into here. Helps if you just get it in the thing, Gary. There you go. And then this one into here. So this, of course, is a duplicate of the other one. Pretty much. Yep, even looks similar if you look at it, because it is similar. And I'm going to take this and we're going to go add a transform node just in there. We'll move that up. We'll move that up. There you go. Then we'll take all of those and set it to 0.3. Oh no. 0.5? Oh, maybe. 0.6? Yes. There we go. And let's just move this up. There you go. I kind of like that. And I'm just going to very quickly, this whole arm here, I'm going to add a geometry node after this as well. A transform. Just so that I can move this up and down, because I think I might have a slight, oh no, I'm just rotating, not the wrong one. I might just have to move this up and down slightly. Okay. But as you can see, that's moving our main stem as well, which I don't want to do. So what I'll have to do is add a different join geometry. So let's just go Shift D and let's drag this into the back of this, and then this can, and then oh, I need to disconnect it from here really. So let's pull that out of that. There we go. Put that there because that is our stem group. And so this will go into here. Haha, that's right. Yep, this will go into here. I don't need that other one at all. There we go. Let's just get rid of you. There we go. And so this one is controllable separately to travel up and down. Just going to leave that one at 0, and this one, of course, also is willing. It's willing to go up and down, like that. So that's all well and good. So we've got everything we need, and they've all got these little trim curves on as well. So if I go into this and I take that trim curve, and I go like this, you can see they're all, look, shrinking in and out, shrinking in and out. And say on this one here, shrinking in and out. Look, you see the pair of them are going. And then if we go onto this one down here, and this trim curve, watch this one, does those 4. You see, so you've got complete control. Now, here is the thing. All of that there. We now need another one of these on this side. Yes, we do. So the best way to do that, mirrored across, is to do exactly as we've done with all of this for shifting things around. And we're going to go add, and we're going to go add a geometry, transform, stick it there, stick it in, stick that into there, and then scale this by -1. Look at that. It's so easy. So simple. It's so simple, it makes me want to cry. And it doesn't make me want to cry. I'm just getting all carried away. It's just, I love it. I love it. I do. I just love it. And so we're going to add another one here. So let's go add geometry. Yes. Separate geometry now. Transform. I'm going to shove this into here. And we're going to shove this into here. And then we're going to multiply this also 1 by -1. And as you can see, it's not done a thing. What's going on? Oh, it's there. Oh no, I know why. I know why. Hang on, chaps. What have I done there? Oh, Gary. Well, why is that? Oh, that one's fine. Why is that one not fine? Is that, which one? That's, I thought that was middle one. Or is, oh, hang on. Is this my little one? Yes, this is my little one. Damn you. So what I need to do is take all of these values. So let's just delete this one, as we do. And we're going to Shift D, drop that there, stick that into there. There we go, so it's got the same value, so it'll be in exactly the same place, and into there, because you're just basically rejoining it in twice. I hope you get that. It just means you're using the same information, but you're using it to create essentially an even bigger instance. And that again change that to -0.6, so that puts that up there. There you go. And then we'll do this correctly this time, same as we did before, but we just couldn't see it. And let's add a geometry transform, stick it underneath, stick the same information in, and then join the change into there, the other one into there twice with a -1 of the x, and boom, you've got all that. So there you have that essentially. Whew, by God, that's taken a while. That is, all of that is one arm. Right, now what we're going to do now is we're just going to set something up using this input node, because what we want to do is we want control of our curves, don't we? Now, I'm going to leave these open. I'm going to do one thing on this one though. This is our main stem. This also obviously has to grow. And at the moment, at this, it's got nothing, all of the stuff that's in there, we can't get into it. We need to see it, don't we? So we need to go into the node. So let's edit group, tab, that's it. I always forget. And it's this is fundamentally what's going on in the outer stuff. But you can see we have this thing here. We have a group input, as you can see, which is connected to nothing. I keep moving them all around. But we want to add the endpoint of our trim curve as a controller in there. So when we stick that into there, just go back here into our, go back up here, boop, you'll see here now I've got control of the end. Can you see? So I can now connect that to the input main controller of our scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, come here, and I am going to, let's move this temporarily over here. Okay, and I'm going to plug this in the same way into that there. So now in here, actually in the geometry node modifier, I've now got a controller up here that I can animate. I can actually stick keyframes in that and access that at any point. So that's really handy. Now, I don't obviously want to necessarily have that as the name of this item. No, I do not. So what I'm going to do is, as you can see here, if we look in the group inputs, I've got the word geometry, I've got the word end. Now end, it's a floating point, that's fine, it's called end. I'm going to call that main stem. So that now I can see that there as main stem. Main stem's good. Main stem actually sounds like something that's much, much better. And then I'm going to take this over here. Come here. Come here. Oh, too small, Gary. Right, I'm going to take this over here so we can actually see now this first arm, which we are duplicating, as I recall. So if I take this one here and I do the end, there you go. You see it's running both of those stems. I want that to be, let's call them, what do you want? Arm one, stalk one. I think we will call it arm one. Yeah, let's do that. So we'll call this one, and we'll call this one arm one. There we go. And then we have another trim stem over here. So now we have the ability to control every single little piece of this wonderfulness. Oh yes, we can. Houdini. Great, great, great. And I am now looking at one controller here. One controller here that animates all of this lot. Every little part of this. So now you see what we have here is a piece of geometry that runs all of it, one whole stem. So what we need to do now is we need to make 5 more instances of that, not 6. So we're going to put a transform node here, and this is where all of this joyfulness we were doing before will make perfect sense. So I'm going to go add and geometry. I'm going to put a join geometry. I'm going to put that there. So essentially it's like another little stem for the joining just before it reaches the main node. So let's take this, I'm going to put that into here, and I'm going to pop that there. Come on. Because we only need to instance all of this stuff for it to work. We've got all the controllers we need. And I'm going to rotate this in the Y by 60. Okay. Now you can see where things are crossing over now. We'll come back to that in a second. What we'll do now, I'll just very quickly, I'm going to add another geometry transform. Okay. I'm going to stick that into there. I'll put that into there. And I'm going to rotate this on the Y by 120. So now we've got 60, and of course now we can see we've pretty much got something which we can animate those 6 stems and those 6 arms and then those numbers and then those numbers. But obviously you can also see where things are crossing into each other. Now if you like that stylistically, fab. In fact, it does look quite nice. However, I like mine to not intersect like that. Although that could just be me being a bit of an arse. I don't know. I'm starting to like that the more I look at it. No, I'm going to change it. So we'll go back up here. I'll go back up here. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move the main stem, and I'm going to do some editing of that, because the one thing we've got now is the main stem is not long enough. So let's just go into that, and let's go to our resampled curve, which I can crease up and down, and I'm going to come back to that as well in a sec on the other ones. I can make this longer. There you go. So we've got a much more Mary's Boy Child thing going on there. Very good. Christmas Day, lovely big star. And I'm going to increase the count of the points on that. What I am going to do as well, if I come back out of this, is I'm going to go into these ones, these end ones, these little ones, and I'm going to reduce the amount that's on that curve, because I don't think it needs as many as it's got. So let's just reduce those down there, and then reduce these ones here. Let's resample the curves down a little bit, so it's a little less janky. There you go. I don't mind those ones joining up. And then I can come back over here to all the ones that we muted, and we can go, right, press M on those, and they are back. And we can now start to do the animation side. And this is pretty much the last bit now. All of this lovely geometry node stuff. It is, oh, I love it. I really do. Seriously, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I was more surprised at how much easier I thought it was going to be than it actually was. There are still a lot of things in there that are maths and can be quite complicated, and I'm still trying to get my head around a lot of that stuff, but quite honestly, I'm loving this. So let's just save this as something sensible. I'm going to call it Snowflaker 3, because Snowflaker 2 was just when I was going over everything that I did in Snowflaker 1 to make sure I could do it during the tutorial without making any mistakes. Still made a few. Anyway, let's just get this, and we'll go to animation. So let's move this here, and let's first things first, let's just get into that camera view here. Let's adjust this camera view, shall we? Press N, get a view, camera to view. And then we can adjust the camera by looking down it. There we go. Oh, and that looks, in fact, this looks even more pointy and even more dangerous than the one I had before. In fact, it would be nice to have like just another couple of little arms just in there. Sort of a, that's for my friend Adam, who says I make silly noises all the time at work. Right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to select our geometry node in the modifiers. And I'm going to set every single one of these to 0, just to
nothing. Let's go to frame 1, and let's insert a keyframe. And I'm going to get it on manual for now. And I'm going to say, let's say it takes 1,000, 2,000. So it's 50 frames just to get from there to there. Okay. So if we go back and we just go, that's kind of nice. Yeah, that's kind of nice. But let's just do something with a curve. So let's just press Control Tab in the notepad so we can see just our curve. And make sure all the points are selected and press the decimal point key on the number pad. The point key. I can't remember the name of it. Right next to the 0. And I'm going to take this curve. I'm going to lift. Oh, all sorts of things. I'm going to just disconnect that. Deconnect. Deselect that. I'm going to move. Oh, deconnect. Losing the will to live. And I'm going to push that up so that goes poof. So it's more of hitty at the beginning, more solid. So it's like. In fact, we can do that even more so. So it really sort of goes. Boom. Yeah. Boom. And that finishes at 50. So that's good. That's fine. So what we need to do now is work out exactly where we get these next arms visible. So if we push this back to about, I think 60 actually is probably about good. So let's set that to 0, insert a keyframe, and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, say. Set those to 1. So it's, and then let's go back and turn off that one, and let's just pick this one and do the same. Oh, I've done exactly the same thing, I'm not kidding. I'm going to pick that one, I'm going to lift this up like that. There we go, so it's like, and then we're going to go to the next one and work out where that would need to start to grow. So where would it be on this? Let's just say it's probably there at 13. Let's go to 13 and set a key. Press I, Captain. Then bring that over to here and then set that to 1. That'll do, I think. So now if we play this animation, we have a snowflake. Now, when I first did this, I thought, well, that's no problem. I'll do one stem section and then use the array modifier to increase it. But of course, you have to do that with an empty because there isn't a rotate function in the array modifier by standard, which I actually do think is a bit of a failing. I think that should be properly in there. So you can do translates and scales, but you can't do a rotate. It'd be great. Rotate would be really simple. I mean, it can't be difficult to implement. I attached it to an empty, the array, and then I spun the empty by 60 degrees. And it was great. And then I tried to rotate everything, and it just went everywhere. All the pieces went all over the place. And I thought, well, in that case, I've probably got to do them in the object. So fundamentally, it's better having it inside the object because it does mean that as it's animating in, I can say, right, well, let's say at frame 80, it finishes rotation. So let's pick the object. And let's say it rotates somewhere. Let's insert a keyframe there. And then let's go over here and let's rotate it in the Y by quite an amount. So it does that. That's fine. But then I want to rotate it in the Z as well. So now we can come back to our object. Into the transforms. Let's just turn off all of these. And we can go X, Y, Z, and we can just go press A, get all of that lot, and then do this. And we can now see, you know, this is where we can go. How many times I've got to do that? Right, so that's like a nice fast out. And this, again, will be a very fast out. So the frame rate to 100, and then here we go. Let's have a look at the whole thing, animating, and I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's give it a little bit of shading quickly. Let's get rid of that material. So let's just add a shader. Let's add principal BSDF. Shove that into there. Let's try that again. There we go. And get rid of that one. I don't know why I did that. They're both exactly the same. But fundamentally, I just feel like I've just pulled something from somewhere else. And we are going to add a base color of blue. And you'll notice that something is not on there. There is no material on there. And this, I think, is quite a fundamental thing that until you get into geometry nodes, you don't realize that you have to put everything onto your object. You can't just apply it here. So even though the shader is there, I need to give this thing the information that there is a shader on it. So what we do is go down here to material, and we have to go set material, and we do that, and we go material. And now when we come back into our shading, now it's got the shader on, okay? So it just has to be told what is on it. If it's got no material at all, because it's been built entirely inside of geometry nodes, you can't just slap on a material, you have to set it in there. Interesting thing that, it's one of the things you don't realize until you end up having to do it. So yeah, no, it's that's kind of your thing. I put a cyc behind mine and put some lights in the scene, but now, and here's the best thing ever. I'm going to change that to GPU compute. Oh my doors! Oh my days! Oh, it's so fast! Oh, I can't cope. Cycles X is so fast, it's unbelievable. I absolutely love it. And it renders things so quick. So if I now change this to rendering, and if I just take, let's say 56, I'm just going to press F12. Now, that is now currently rendering. And it's, obviously the point is it's meant to get to 4,096 samples. Well, there's no need for it to get that high. It doesn't need to get that high at all. 1,024 seems to be doing the job, quite frankly. I mean, yeah. That's it. And Cycles X just rocks. If geometry nodes isn't one thing, having Cycles X in there is another. Right, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to get back to the animation window, and let's just have just this one here. Let's pop it in there, and let's go back to that. And I'm just going to very quickly, so into shading. I'm just going to change the color of this to something just mostly white. There we go. So let's go back to the shading window, and let's turn it off from that and just leave this. And I'm just going to leave it running. So you can see, there you go. You've actually grown your star from nothing, absolutely zero. You have a beautiful snowflake that's growing itself. Now obviously you can slow all of that down, doesn't have to be as fast as that. You can change where you put stuff, but fundamentally that is the point. It is growing everything from nothing. Geometry nodes has just totally changed the way that everybody uses Blender ever again. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm hoping you're having a lovely holiday wherever you are and whatever you're doing. I know it's become a typically difficult time again, particularly in the UK. We have a lot of people suffering from something called Omicron, which sounds to me like it should be someone who's killing Transformers. But apparently it's not as bad as the main one. Don't mind, don't care. As long as everyone's safe, that's all that matters. Keep out of the way of other people. Spend time with close family, and do take regular tests. And if you're not vaccinated, please vaccinate. It's not hard. I know some people don't want to do it. That's fine. That's their choice. But if you want to go and have it done, then please do. It could save loads of people's lives as well as your own. And I will see you in the new year. Welcome to 2022. Or as someone said to me once, oh no, it's 2022. As if it's going to be like Jaws 2 or Alien 3. I'm talking too much again, aren't I? Yeah. I've got to stop doing that. Okay, guys, look after yourselves. Take care. Please subscribe. Tell your friends. And also, please, if you like this, please click like. Everything helps me and the algorithm to get out more and more and more of these little beauties. So take care, guys. And yeah, as I say, see you in the new year. Bye.